Welcome 7th grade scholars to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into Unit 04, Lesson 02, Fiction and Nonfiction Misconception Check Video Overview. So if you think you can just glance at a text and immediately spot a made-up story versus a hard, fact-based text, well, get ready, because you're about to have your mind blown. We're going to act like detectives today and examine the very DNA of what we read. We'll figure out what makes a text truly reliable, and honestly, it is way more fascinating than just looking at the label on the cover.
Okay, let's dive into this agenda. First up, the misconceptions, then evidence, looking deeper. Next, application, the CER method, and finally, transfer, changing the variables.
Section 1. The misconceptions. Uncovering the myths about genre. You know those rigid black and white rules you've probably been taught about reading? The ones that try to sort absolutely everything into neat, perfectly separated little boxes where facts and stories just never mix? Well, as detectives, we know the truth is rarely that simple, right? I mean, have you ever heard the absolute rule that fiction cannot contain facts? Or maybe that nonfiction just isn't allowed to use narrative techniques like, descriptive storytelling? What about that really tricky idea that just having a serious, factual tone guarantees a text is reliable? Or the notion that spotting one single feature, like a date or a real city, instantly proves the entire genre? Look, these are super common beliefs, but they are totally surface-level myths, and today we are busting every single one of them.
Think of it this way. We've got surface features on one hand and deep DNA on the other. Surface features? Those are the strict labels, the super obvious clues. They're the quick assumptions we make. But you wouldn't just look at a car's shiny paint job to figure out how its engine works, right? We have to look at the text's deep DNA. We're talking about the author's actual purpose, the specific claims they're making, the evidence they provide, and the underlying structure. That is where the reality of the text actually lives, totally independent of whatever label might be slapped on the cover.
Section 2, Evidence. Looking deeper. What the standards say. Let's actually look at the English language arts standards and a really cool methodology called twin texts to prove exactly why those old genre myths just fall apart when you look closely.
And this brilliantly illustrates how genres actually work in the real world. The twin text method involves pairing a fiction and a nonfiction book on the exact same topic. When you do this, something really amazing happens. You realize historical fiction heavily relies on real facts and accurate settings to build a believable world. I mean, you can't write a gripping historical fiction novel about the Civil War without using real historical facts. Meanwhile, literary nonfiction uses rich storytelling and compelling character arcs to keep us glued to true events. So fiction steals facts and nonfiction borrows narrative. The lines are wonderfully, totally blurred.
Because those lines get so blurry, we need a way better tool. Source reliability. This is the ultimate measure of a text's trustworthiness, and it's based on its purpose, the validity of its claims, the sufficiency of its evidence, and its overall structure. Listen, a dry, boring, highly academic tone does not automatically mean a source is reliable. Literally anyone can use a serious voice. If there is zero evidence backing up the claims, it totally fails the ELA standards test. We absolutely have to assess what the author is actually trying to do and whether they provide the solid proof to back it all up.
Section 3. Application. The CER method. Classifying a hypothetical text. Okay, let's put this into practice. I'm challenging you to act as the lead investigator on a test case right now, using what we've learned to decode a text's true DNA. In 1912, the massive ship sailed into the icy night. "I feel a cold dread," whispered a passenger, though official logs never recorded this. It sounds highly historical, doesn't it? It's got a specific year and a famous, recognizable setting. But notice that deliberate, glaring uncertainty tacked on at the very end, an unverified quote. Keep that in mind.
To decode this, we're going to use the CER steps. Step 1 is the claim. We state the genre and its reliability. Step 2 is evidence. We identify the specific textual features acting as our clues. And step 3 is reasoning. We connect those features back to the author's ultimate purpose. Let's run our mystery passage through this method and see what we get.
Now, what's really interesting about this is what happens when we isolate the evidence. A really distinct picture emerges. Feature 1 is a solid fact, the year 1912. But Feature 2 gives us descriptive, highly emotional language, cold dread. Finally, we have a massive red flag of uncertainty, that unverified quote explicitly missing from the official logs. Using our reasoning step, the author's purpose is clearly to create a vivid emotional experience, not to present a verifiable historical record. Therefore, our claim? This is historical fiction. Despite having that factual date of 1912, that unverified, made-up dialogue makes it entirely unreliable as a pure informational text.
Section 4. Transfer. Changing the variables. Testing our classification. All right, we've successfully classified our text, but what happens if we tweak just one single variable? Will the whole structure hold up, or is it going to completely mutate into something else?
Let's compare our original text with an altered version. The altered text reads, quote, "Passenger logs from April 14 show 3 distinct warnings of ice were received." Notice the surgical swap we made here. The emotional language and that whispered quote vanished completely. In their place, we now have a cited primary source, the passenger logs, presenting a clear, verifiable claim about specific ice warnings.
So, here is the ultimate Socratic question for you. Does changing this one single feature alter the classification or the reliability judgment of the entire text? Take a second. Seriously, formulate an answer in your head. As the lead detective in this investigation, what is your final verdict?
So the crucial point is yes, it changes absolutely everything. The text immediately transforms from fiction to nonfiction. Why? Because the deep DNA was rewritten. The author's purpose shifted entirely from generating emotion and suspense to informing the reader with hard evidence. Consequently, the reliability just skyrockets because the claims can now be rigorously fact-checked. Just by shifting to verifiable evidence, we turned a story into a highly reliable informational text.
Fantastic work today, detectives. Remember to always look past simple surface features. Don't be fooled by a date or a serious tone. Always search for the deep DNA of claims, evidence, and purpose so you can truly understand what you're reading. But it really begs the question, the next time you pick up your favorite book, will you be reading it just for the story, or will you be hunting for its DNA? Unit 04, Lesson 02, Fiction and Nonfiction, Misconception Check Video Overview.